She typed the message with shaking hands. "Please, I'm begging you, just $40 for formula," and hit send to the wrong number. The man who received it was worth $89 million and hadn't felt anything in 3 years.
Hello, if you're ready to hear the whole story, click subscribe and tap the notification bell. Type in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as touching as this one, or maybe even crazier. And you don't want to miss it. Now let's begin.
The apartment smelled like sour milk and desperation. Nadia Reyes sat on the kitchen floor at 2:47 a.m., her back pressed against the chipped cabinet, phone clutched in one hand while the other trembled against her forehead. Mateo's cries had softened to whimpers in the next room, exhausted from an hour of screaming. The empty formula container lay on its side near her foot, mocking her. She'd shaken it 3 times, scraped the sides with a spoon, mixed the pathetic residue with extra water, hoping to stretch it. But 7-month-old babies knew when they were being cheated. The bills were still taped to the refrigerator, red-stamped, threatening, final notice. Overdue. Pay immediately. She'd stopped reading them 2 weeks ago. Her phone showed 3% battery, and she hadn't paid the electric bill in 40 days. The lights could go any minute. Nadia scrolled through her contacts with a kind of numb determination. Her sister hadn't answered her calls in 6 months, not since Nadia had refused to give that baby up like a responsible person would. Her mother's number was still saved, but blocked. And her friends, the ones who'd stuck around after she got pregnant, they'd already lent what they could. That left one number. Derek. Mateo's father, the man who'd promised forever, then vanished the day she showed him the positive test. She hadn't heard from him in 8 months, didn't even know if this number still worked. But what choice did she have? Her fingers moved across the screen, mechanical, detached. She couldn't think about the humiliation, couldn't think about how this made her feel, small, pathetic, invisible. She could only think about Mateo's cries in the empty bottle. "Please, I know I have no right to ask, but Mateo needs formula and I get paid Friday. Just $40. I'll pay you back. I'm begging you." She stared at the words, hated every letter, hated herself for typing them. Then she hit send before she could delete it. The message whooshed away into the void. Nadia closed her eyes, letting her head fall back against the cabinet. Her throat burned. She wouldn't cry, not again. She'd used up all her tears weeks ago. Mateo whimpered from the bedroom. She forced herself to stand, legs shaking, and went to him. 300 miles west, Colin Ashford stood on the balcony of his penthouse pantry, staring at a city that glittered like broken glass. Behind him, his teammates were destroying his living room, music pounding, bottles clinking, voices loud with the kind of joy that came after a win. They'd beaten Portland 3-1. Colin had scored twice. The highlight reels would play on loop tomorrow. His agent had already texted, "Nike wants to talk endorsements. Call me." But Colin felt nothing. He gripped the railing, cold metal biting into his palms, and watched the Space Needle blink in the distance. The air smelled like rain and exhaust. Someone inside laughed, high, sharp, grating. He wanted them all gone. "Yo, Ash, get in here, man. Toast." He didn't turn, just lifted his drink at acknowledgement, then set it down on the railing, untouched. 3 years. 3 years since Lily died, and he still couldn't feel anything but the hollow ache where his sister used to be. She texted him that night, "Call, I need you. Can you come get me?" And he'd been in the middle of a sponsorship dinner. He'd typed, "Busy, call an Uber," and gone back to smiling for cameras. She'd driven herself, texted someone else, crashed into a tree on Highway 2 going 70. The coroner said she died instantly. Colin knew better. She died the moment he chose a steak dinner over her. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He almost ignored it. Probably another sponsor, another friend asking for tickets, another woman he'd never met asking him for dinner. But something made him pull it out. Unknown number. 509 area code. Spokane. His hometown. The place he hadn't been back to in 5 years. He opened the message. "Please, I know I have no right to ask, But Mateo needs formula and I get paid Friday. Just $40. I'll pay you back. I'm begging you. He credit twice. Then a third time. Someone had texted the wrong number. That much was obvious. But something about the words, begging, made his chest tighten. He could ignore it, delete it, block the number. But the Spokane area code stared back at him. And the desperation in those words? It reminded him of Lily's last text. His thumbs hovered over the keyboard. Who is this? He hit send before he could think better of it. Inside, someone dropped a glass. It shattered, followed by roaring laughter. Colin didn't flinch. He just watched his screen, waiting. 3 dots appeared. Nadia was rocking Mateo when her phone buzzed. She froze. He'd answered. Derek had actually answered. Her heart hammered as she fumbled for the phone, nearly dropping it. Mateo fussed against her shoulder, but she barely noticed. Who is this? She blinked at the screen. That wasn't how Derek texted. He used all lowercase, no punctuation, half words. This was formal, careful. Maybe he'd changed his number and she hadn't known. Her fingers shook as she typed back. It's Nadia. I'm sorry, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I wouldn't ask if I had any other choice. Mateo's out of formula and I don't get paid until Friday. I just need $40. I swear I'll pay you back. Send. She held her breath. The response came faster this time. I think you have the wrong number. Nadia's stomach dropped. No. No. She pulled up the message thread, checked the number. Her vision blurred as she compared it to Derek's contact. 1 digit off. She had mistyped 1 single digit. A strangled sound escaped her throat, half laugh, half sob. Of course this was her life now. She couldn't even beg correctly. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Please ignore that. Wrong number. She started to put the phone down, humiliation burning through her chest, when it buzzed again. Spokane? She stared at the word. Yes? 3 dots. Then, what's your Venmo? Nadia's breath caught. What? Your Venmo or PayPal, Cash App, whatever you use. Her hand started trembling so hard she nearly dropped the phone. I can't accept money from a stranger. I'm sorry, this was a mistake. The reply was immediate. It's $40. Just take it. Tears blurred her vision. Mateo had fallen asleep against her shoulder, his tiny breaths warm against her neck. Why? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, because someone should have answered when it mattered. Nadia didn't understand what that meant, but something in those words made her throat close up. With shaking fingers, she typed her Venmo username. 60 seconds later, her phone chimed. Colin Ashford sent you $200. Nadia stopped breathing. $200. She stared at the screen, at the name she didn't recognize, at the amount that could buy formula for a month, diapers, maybe even pay part of the electric bill. This is too much. I only need $40. Keep it. I can't. You can, and you will. Nadia sat on the floor of her dark apartment with her sleeping son in her arms and cried silently into her free hand. 300 miles away, Colin Ashford stood on his balcony staring at his phone and felt something crack open in his chest. It wasn't much, but it was something. And he hadn't felt anything in 3 years.
Nadia couldn't sleep. She'd fed Mateo, finally, watched his tiny face relax as he drank, his fists unclenching, his whimpers fading into satisfied gulps. She'd changed him, rocked him, laid him gently in his crib. He was asleep now, peaceful, his chest rising and falling in the dim glow of the nightlight. But she couldn't stop staring at her phone. Colin Ashford sent you $200. She'd Googled the name 3 times, found nothing. No Facebook, no Instagram, no LinkedIn, just nothing. Like he didn't exist. Which made sense, she supposed. Who used their real name on Venmo anymore? Probably some random guy with a fake profile. But the money was real. She'd checked her bank account 4 times. It was there. Actually there. Her thumb hovered over the message thread. She should thank him again. Or maybe not. Maybe she should just leave it alone, accept the miracle for what it was, and move on. The stranger didn't want her life story. He'd helped, and that was enough. But something about his last message wouldn't leave her alone. Because someone should have answered when it mattered. What did that mean? Before she could stop herself, she was typing. Thank you. I mean it. You didn't have to do this. I'll pay you back. I promise. She hit send and immediately regretted it. He probably wouldn't even respond. It was 3 a.m. Normal people were asleep. Normal people didn't send strangers $200 in the middle of the night. Her phone buzzed. You don't have to pay me back. Nadia's jaw tightened. Pride flared hot in her chest, the same pride that had kept her from asking for help until she had no choice. Yes, I do. I'm not a charity case. The 3 dots appeared immediately. Didn't say you were. Then why did you send so much? The dots appeared and disappeared 3 times. She watched them, heart pounding, wondering if she'd pushed too hard, if he'd offended her, if he'd block her and she'd never understand. Finally, because I know what it's like to need help and not get it. Nadia stared at those words, read them again. Again. There was something raw in them, something that felt like an open wound. I'm sorry. Whatever happened, I'm sorry. Not your fault. Still, no one should feel that way. A long pause. Then, what's your son's name? The question surprised her, made this feel less like a transaction and more like a conversation. Mateo. He's 7 months old. Just you two? Her chest tightened. The answer to that question always hurt. Yeah, just us. His father? Gone. Has been since I told him I was pregnant. She waited for the judgment, the pity, the, well, what did you expect that she'd gotten from everyone else, her family, her old friends, the woman at the WIC office. Instead, his loss. 2 words, simple, matter of fact, but they hit her like a punch to the sternum. Nadia's eyes burned. She blinked hard, refusing to cry again. She'd cried enough tonight, enough this week, this month, this year. Thank you for saying that. It's true. I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to explain that no one had ever made her feel like maybe she wasn't the problem, like maybe she wasn't broken or wrong or too much. Why did you help me? Really? The dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared. I had a sister. 3 years ago, she needed help. She texted me. I was busy. Told her to figure it out. She tried. And she died. Nadia's breath caught. Oh my God. Car accident. She was 19. I was at a dinner I don't even remember. Too important to answer my phone. That wasn't your fault, wasn't it? Nadia's throat ached. She could feel his guilt through the screen, heavy, suffocating, the kind that never really left. No, it wasn't. You couldn't have known. I should have answered. You're human. We all make mistakes. A long pause. Then, I haven't been able to shake it, the guilt. It's been 3 years and I still wake up thinking about that text. Nadia's hands trembled as she typed. Is that why you answered mine? Yeah. One word. But it said everything. She understood now. This wasn't charity. This wasn't pity. This was a man trying to rewrite a memory he couldn't change, trying to answer the call he'd missed. I'm glad you did. You saved us tonight. You really did. I'm glad I could help. What's your name? Your real name. A long pause. She wondered if she'd crossed a line, if anonymity was part of this for him. Keeping distance, keeping control. Colin. Thank you, Colin, for everything. You're welcome, Nadia. She stared at her name on the screen. It looked different coming from him, less like a label and more like something valuable. I should let you sleep. It's late. I wasn't sleeping anyway. Me neither. Matteo keeping you up? No, he's finally asleep. I just can't turn my brain off. I get that. What keeps you up? She didn't know why she asked, didn't know why she was prolonging this conversation with a stranger who'd already done more for her than anyone in her life. But something about the quiet intimacy of 3 a.m. texts made it feel safe, like confessions whispered in the dark didn't count in daylight. Everything, nothing. The feeling that I'm living someone else's life. Nadia's chest tightened. That's exactly how I feel. Yeah? Yeah. Like I'm just going through the motions, surviving but not living. When did it start feeling that way? She thought about it. Really thought. The day I realized I was completely alone. That no one was coming to save me. That if I didn't figure it out, no one would. That's a heavy day. What about you? When did it start for you? The day of her funeral. I stood there in a suit I'd paid $3,000 for, in front of people who kept telling me it wasn't my fault. And I realized nothing I had, money, success, fame, none of it brought her back, and none of it made me feel less empty. Fame. The word snagged in my mind. Fame? She watched the dots appear and disappear. Appear again. I play football. Professional. It's complicated. Nadia's heart started pounding. Professional football. Money. The $200 that he'd sent like it was nothing. Are you famous? Depends on who you ask. Would I know your name? Maybe. If you follow soccer. Soccer. Not football. Which meant you're a footballer? Like actual professional footballer? Yeah. Her stomach twisted. This changed things. Didn't it? This wasn't just some guy with extra cash. This was someone who lived in a completely different world. Someone who probably had handlers and agents and people who'd tell him to stop texting broke single mothers at 3 a.m. Why are you talking to me? Why wouldn't Adam? Because I'm nobody. And you're you. You're not nobody, Nadia. You know what I mean. I do. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. It matters to everyone else. I'm not everyone else. I want to believe him. God, I want to believe him. But I'd learned the hard way that people said a lot of things they didn't mean, that promises were cheap, that people left. I should go, really. Thank you again. Nadia. Yeah? If you need anything else, anything.
Nadia woke to sunlight streaming through the thin curtains and Mateo's babbling from his crib. For a moment, just one blessed moment, she forgot about the bills, the eviction notice, the empty bank account. She forgot about the humiliation of begging a stranger for help. Then she saw her phone on the nightstand, and everything came rushing back. She grabbed it, half expecting last night to have been a fever dream. But no, the messages were still there. The $200 was still in her account. Colin Ashford was real. Her stomach twisted with something she couldn't name. Gratitude, yes, but also shame. Deep, bone-crushing shame that she'd been so desperate she'd texted a wrong number begging for money, that she'd poured her heart out to a complete stranger, that she'd accepted help she had no way of repaying. And the fact that he was some professional footballer, that made it worse somehow. He probably thought she was pathetic, another sob story, another person with their hand out. Mateo's babbling turned into demanding squeals. "I'm coming, baby," she called, forcing herself out of bed. She changed him, fed him the formula she'd bought at the 24-hour store at 4 a.m., after finally managing to fall asleep around 3:30. Mateo ate happily, his little hands gripping her fingers, his eyes bright and trusting. He didn't know how close they'd come to disaster last night. He didn't know his mother had fallen apart on the kitchen floor. And he definitely didn't know that a stranger's kindness was the only thing standing between them and total collapse. Nadia's phone buzzed on the counter. She froze, formula bottle hovering midair. It buzzed again. She told herself not to look, told herself to just leave it alone. Last night was last night, a moment of weakness, a strange connection that meant nothing in daylight. She didn't need to drag this out, didn't need to make this into something it wasn't. Mateo grabbed the bottle and tried to shove it in his mouth himself. Okay, she murmured, helping him. The phone buzzed a third time. She lasted 30 seconds before checking. "Morning, how's Mateo?" Something fluttered in her chest. She squashed it immediately. "He's good, ate a full bottle. Happy baby right now." She should have stopped there, should have left it at that, but her fingers kept moving. "How are you?" Send. She grimaced. Why did she ask that? Why was she prolonging this? Better than I've been in a while, honestly. Nadia stared at the message. What did that mean? Good. That's good. Awkward. This was awkward. What was she supposed to say to him? Thanks again for the money. Have a nice life? What are you doing today? The question caught her off guard. Trying to figure out how to pay rent, applying for jobs online, the usual survival stuff. What kind of jobs? Anything. Waitressing, retail, cleaning. Anything that'll hire someone with a 7-month-old and no childcare. That's got to be hard. It is what it is. I hate how defeated she sounded. Hated that this man, this stranger, was seeing her at her absolute lowest. What did you do before Mateo? I was in school, graphic design. Had to drop out when I got pregnant. You any good? I was decent. Had a portfolio. Was going to apply for internships. What happened to the portfolio? Life happened. Do you still have it? Somewhere. Haven't looked at it in over a year. You should. Can't really think about dreams when I'm trying to keep the lights on. Fair enough. She felt bad immediately. He was just trying to be nice, trying to make conversation, and here she was snapping at him like he'd insulted her. Sorry. That came out harsh. You don't have to apologize.
I get it. Do you, though? She regretted it the second she hit send. Too confrontational. Too much. No, you're right. I don't. I've never had to choose between dreams and survival. That was a stupid thing to say. Now she felt worse. It wasn't stupid. You were being nice. I'm not good at accepting help, or kindness, or anything, really. Why? Because I've learned that everything comes with strings. Nothing's free. Someone's always keeping score. I'm not keeping score, Nadia. Everyone says that. I mean it. We'll see. She set the phone down before she could say anything else she'd regret. Mateo had finished his bottle and was reaching for her hair, giggling despite everything. What is she doing? Why is she talking to this man like they're friends? Like he wasn't living in a completely different universe where $200 was pocket change and problems could be solved with money? People like him don't stay interested in people like her. Once the novelty wears off, once he gets his good deed satisfaction, he'll disappear. They always do. Her phone buzzed. Can I ask you something? She shouldn't answer. Should just put the phone away and get on with her day. Sure. Why did you text him? The guy you meant to text? Mateo's father. Yeah. Nadia's stomach nodded. Because I was desperate. Because I've borrowed from everyone I know and burned through every favor. Because he's Mateo's father, and I thought, maybe, just maybe, he'd care enough to help his own son. Had you tried before? Twice. He never answered. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm not surprised. He made it clear from the beginning that Mateo was my problem, not his. That's not how it works. That's how it worked for him. Mateo started fussing. She shifted him to her hip, bouncing slightly. Do you hate him? The question caught her off guard. Did she? She'd been so busy surviving, so focused on just making it through each day, that she hadn't really stopped to examine how she felt about Derek. No. I'm angry, hurt, but hate takes energy I don't have. That's probably healthier. What about you? Do you hate yourself for what happened to your sister? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared, appeared again. Every single day. Her chest ached. That's not fair to you. Doesn't make it less true. She wouldn't want that. How would you know? Because I'm a stranger and even I don't want that for you. So I'm guessing someone who loved you wouldn't either. Long pause. Maybe. Definitely. Mateo grabbed her phone and tried to shove it in his mouth. She wrestled it away, laughing despite everything. I have to go. Mateo is trying to eat my phone. Send me a picture? Nadia froze. Of Mateo? Yeah, if that's okay. Every instinct screamed at her to say no, to not send pictures of her baby to a stranger, to keep that boundary firm. But something about the way he'd asked, tentative, careful, made her hesitate. Why? I don't know. I'd like to see him. The kid I helped. If that's weird, forget it. It was weird. It absolutely was. But it also wasn't. Not really. Nadia snapped a quick picture. Mateo grinning, drool on his chin, his tiny hand reaching toward the camera. She sent it before she could overthink. He's beautiful. Thanks. He's my whole world. I can tell. What about you? Any kids? No. Not married. Probably never will be at this rate. Why not? Because everyone wants something from me.
Money, access, status. No one just wants me. Nadia's heart twisted. That's lonely. Yeah, it is. For what it's worth, I don't want anything from you. You already got $200. She could tell he was joking, but it stung anyway, which I'm paying back, every cent. Nadia. I mean it, Colin. I don't take handouts. This was a loan. That's it. Fine. It's a loan. Thank you. But you're still wrong. About what? About not wanting anything. You want me to leave you alone. Stop texting. Let you go back to your life. She stared at the screen. He wasn't wrong. Maybe. So why haven't you blocked me? Good question. Great.
4 days passed. 4 days of texts that started casual and somehow ended deep. 4 days of Nadia telling herself this was temporary, that she'd wean herself off these conversations, that she'd stop checking her phone every 10 minutes. 4 days of failing spectacularly. Colin texted her in the mornings, how'd Mateo sleep, and she'd answer while giving her son his bottle. He'd text during his lunch breaks, asking about her day, and she'd reply while folding laundry or searching job listings. He'd text late at night when insomnia hit them both, and they'd talk about everything and nothing until one of them finally fell asleep. It was becoming routine. It was becoming dangerous. On Thursday afternoon, Nadia's phone rang. An actual call, not a text. She stared at Colin's name on the screen, heart hammering. They didn't call. They texted. That was the rule, the unspoken boundary that kept this, whatever this was, manageable. She answered. Hello? Hey. His voice was deeper than she'd expected, rough around the edges like he'd been yelling. Sorry to call. Is this a bad time? No, it's Mateo's napping. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. He paused. She heard traffic in the background, a horn honking. I'm in Seattle. We have an away game in 2 days. Against Portland. Okay. Spokane's 2 hours from Seattle. Her stomach flipped. Colin, I'm not asking to see you. I know, but I've been thinking. You need diapers, right? And formula? I could drop some off. Leave them outside your door. You wouldn't even have to see me. You want to drive 2 hours to bring me diapers? It's not that far. It's 2 hours. I've driven farther for stupider reasons. Nadia paced her tiny living room, phone pressed to her ear, mind racing. Why? Because I can. Because you need them. Because... He stopped. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. Because I want to. This is crazy. Probably. You don't even know me. I know enough. Colin, just let me do this. Please. There was something in his voice, something raw and almost desperate, like he needed this more than she did. Okay. Yeah? Yeah, but just leave it outside. Don't knock. I won't. I promise. She gave him her address, hating how her hands shook, hating how much she wanted to see him, even though every logical part of her brain screamed this was a terrible idea. Nadia. Yeah? Thank you. For what? For trusting me. Colin pulled up outside her building at 6:47 p.m. It was worse than he had imagined. The apartment complex was a squat, gray structure that looked like it had given up decades ago. Peeling paint, cracked parking lot, a broken gate hanging off its hinges. Kids' bikes lay scattered in the weeds. Someone had spray-painted something illegible on the dumpster.
This was where she lived, where she was raising her son. His chest tightened. He grabbed the bags from his trunk, 2 cases of formula, 3 boxes of diapers, wipes, baby food, some clothes he'd guessed at sizes for. He'd spent an hour in Target, completely lost, Googling, "What do 7-month-olds need?" while other shoppers stared. He walked up the concrete stairs to the 2nd floor, found apartment 2C, and set everything down carefully outside her door. He should leave. That was the deal. Drop and go. But his feet wouldn't move. He stared at the chipped red paint, the dented doorknob, the thin strip of light visible underneath. She was right there, just on the other side of this door. His hand lifted to knock before he could stop himself. 3 soft taps. Silence. Then footsteps. Hesitant. Slow. "Colin?" Her voice came through the door, muffled. "Yeah? You said you wouldn't knock." "I lied." Another pause. I heard her breath catch. "You should go." "I know. So, why are you still here?" "Good question. Great question. One I'd been asking myself for the last 4 days. Because I drove 2 hours and I'd like to at least know you got everything okay." "I can see the bags. It's fine. Thank you." "Nadia!" "What?" "Open the door." "No." "Why not?" "Because this is already too much. Because if I see you, it becomes real. And I can't afford real." Colin pressed his palm against the door, head bowed. "I'm not here to make things harder." "Then leave." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because." The words caught in his throat. "Because. I haven't felt this alive in 3 years and I don't know what to do with that." Silence. Then the lock clicked. The door opened, and there she was. Nadia Reyes, 5'4", dark hair pulled into a messy bun, wearing an oversized sweatshirt with a stain on the shoulder, and yoga pants with holes in the knees. No makeup, exhausted eyes, the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. She stared at him, he stared back. "Hi," he managed. "Hi." Mateo started crying from inside the apartment. Nadia closed her eyes. Perfect timing. "Can I—" Colin gestured vaguely. "Can I meet him?" "You want to meet my baby?" "I've been staring at his pictures for 4 days. Yeah, I want to meet him." She hesitated, then stepped back holding the door open. Colin walked into her world. The apartment was tiny. Kitchen, living room, bedroom, all visible from the front door. Clean, despite everything. She had tried to make it homey, a cheap throw blanket on the sagging couch, drawings taped to the walls, Mateo's toys organized in a plastic bin. But the cracks showed. The water stain on the ceiling, the outlet that sparked, the heater that clanked ominously in the corner. Nadia scooped Mateo from his crib, bouncing him gently. "Shh, baby, it's okay." The kid hiccuped, tears on his chubby cheeks, but calmed quickly. His eyes, wide and curious, locked onto Colin. "This is—" Nadia swallowed. "This is Colin. He's a friend." Colin's chest ached at that word, friend. "Hey, buddy," he said softly, stepping closer. Mateo studied him seriously, then broke into a gummy smile and reached out both hands. "Oh no," Nadia laughed. "He wants you to hold him. You don't have to." "Can I?" She blinked. "You want to?" "Yeah." She carefully transferred Mateo into his arms. Colin had never held a baby before. He was terrified he'd drop him, break him, do something catastrophically wrong. But Mateo just grabbed his face with both tiny hands and giggled. Something cracked open inside Colin's chest. something that had been sealed shut since Lily died. "He likes you," Nadia said quietly. "He doesn't usually like strangers. Maybe I'm not a stranger." "You are, though." Colin looked at her over Mateo's head. "Am I?" She looked away first. "You brought too much stuff. I brought what you needed. I can't pay you back for all this. I don't want you to. Nadia, just stop. Please, just stop." He shifted Mateo to one arm, the baby content to chew on his shirt collar. "Let me help. Why is that so hard?" "Because I don't know what you want from me." The words burst out of her, sharp and raw. Mateo startled, whimpering. She took him back immediately, soothing him, but her eyes stayed locked on Colin. "Everyone wants something," she continued, voice shaking. "My family wanted me to give him up. Derek wanted me to disappear. My friends wanted me to stop being a burden. What do you want?" Colin stood there, hands empty, heart hammering. "I want to not feel dead anymore." The honesty of it stunned them both. Nadia's eyes filled with tears. "That's not fair." "I know. You can't put that on me. I can barely keep myself afloat. I'm not asking you to save me. I'm just asking you to let me be here." "Why?" "Because when I text you, I stop thinking about Lily. When you send me pictures of Mateo, I remember what it feels like to care about something. When you tell me about your day, I feel like a person instead of a product. And I know that's selfish. I know I should walk away and leave you alone, but I can't." Mateo had fallen asleep.
Sunday came too fast and too slow. Nadia changed outfits 3 times, hating herself for caring. She wasn't trying to impress him. This wasn't a date. He was just coming over, bringing dinner, like a friend would. Except friends didn't make her stomach flip every time her phone buzzed. Friends didn't occupy every spare thought in her head. Friends didn't make her feel like maybe, just maybe, she was allowed to want something for herself. She settled on jeans and a clean sweater, brushed her hair until it cooperated, then immediately pulled it into a ponytail because who was she kidding? She was a single mom in a falling-apart apartment. No amount of effort would close the gap between her world and his. Mateo, oblivious to her crisis, played happily on his blanket, chewing on a plastic ring. At 6:15, there was a knock. Nadia's heart jumped into her throat. She opened the door. Colin stood there in jeans and a hoodie, holding 2 bags of Thai food, looking nothing like a millionaire athlete and everything like a normal guy who was just as nervous as she was. "Hi," he said. "Hi. I didn't know what you liked, so I got a lot." She laughed, some of the tension breaking. "Come in." He stepped inside, and just like Thursday night, the apartment felt smaller with him in it, but also warmer, fuller. Mateo spotted him and immediately started shrieking with excitement, arms outstretched. "Somebody missed you," Nadia said, surprised. Colin set the food down and scooped Mateo up without hesitation. "Hey, buddy, you been good for your mama?" Mateo grabbed Colin's face and giggled. Nadia's chest tightened watching them. This was dangerous. Mateo was getting attached. She was getting attached. They ate on the couch, pad thai and spring rolls and coconut soup that was probably more expensive than her weekly grocery budget. Colin asked about her week. She told him about the 3 job interviews she'd had, all dead ends because of childcare issues. "What if you didn't have to worry about that?" he asked carefully. "About what?" "Childcare, money. What if those weren't obstacles?" Nadia set down her fork. "But they are. They don't have to be." "Colin, we've talked about this. I'm not trying to fix everything. I'm just saying, what if you could go back to school, finish your degree?" "That's not realistic." "Why not?" "Because school costs money I don't have. Because I have a baby. Because life doesn't work that way for people like me." "What if it could?" She stood, needing distance. "You can't just throw money at my problems and expect them to disappear. I'm not trying to..."
Yes, you are. That's exactly what you're doing. And I get it, okay? You want to help. You feel guilty about your sister, and you think fixing me will fix that. But I'm not a project, Colin. I'm a person. A broke, struggling person, but still a person. The words came out harsher than she intended. Mateo, sensing the tension, started fussing in Colin's arms. Colin stood slowly, bouncing Mateo gently. You're right. What? You're right. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make you feel like a project, but I can see how it came across that way. The fight drained out of her. She sank back on the couch, head in her hands. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to snap. It's just, I've spent the last year and a half feeling like a burden, like a charity case, and I hate it. I hate needing help. I hate not being able to do this on my own. Colin sat beside her, Mateo still in his arms. Why do you have to do it alone? Because that's what you do. You figure it out. You survive. But what if you didn't have to just survive? What if you could actually live? She looked at him, really looked at him, at the earnestness in his eyes, the way he held her son like he was precious, the way he kept showing up even when she pushed him away. Why do you care so much? She whispered. Colin was quiet for a long moment. Mateo had fallen asleep against his chest, tiny fists clutching his hoodie. Can I tell you something? He finally said. Okay. The night Lily died, I was at this restaurant, fancy place downtown, the kind with wine lists thicker than phone books. My agent had set up a meeting with a potential sponsor, some tech company that wanted to use my face to sell their product. He stared at the wall, but Nadia could tell he was seeing something else entirely. Lily texted me at 9:47. I remember because I looked at my phone and saw the time. She said she needed me, that she was scared, that she had made a mistake and needed her big brother. His voice cracked slightly. I read it, saw it, and I typed back, busy, call an Uber, because I was in the middle of this pitch, and I couldn't be bothered, couldn't let my baby sister's drama interrupt my important meeting. Nadia's throat ached. She called someone else, her boyfriend. He'd been drinking. He came anyway. They were arguing in the car. Her phone record showed she'd been texting him, begging him to slow down. They hit a tree at 72 miles per hour on Highway 2. He walked away with a broken arm. She died on impact. Colin. I got the call at 11:15. 2 cops showed up at the restaurant. I was laughing about something the sponsor said when they walked in. I saw their faces and I knew. Before they said a word, I knew. They found her phone in the wreckage. The last thing on her screen was our text thread. Busy, call an Uber. Those were the last words I ever said to my sister. Nadia's vision blurred with tears. The funeral was 4 days later. Biggest church in Spokane, packed with people. Everyone kept telling me it wasn't my fault, that I couldn't have known, that these things happen. But they were wrong. It was my fault. I could have left that dinner. I could have answered her call. I could have been there. He looked down at Mateo, still sleeping peacefully. After she died, I threw myself into football, harder, faster, better, made more money, got more famous, bought a bigger penthouse, a nicer car, all the things people are supposed to want, and I felt nothing, absolutely nothing. I'd wake up in the morning and have to remember how to be a person, how to smile for cameras, how to care about anything. When did it stop? Nadia asked softly. It didn't. Until your text. She sucked in a breath. I saw those words, I'm begging you, and it was like Lily was reaching through time, giving me a second chance, a chance to answer, a chance to show up, a chance to not be the guy who was too busy for someone who needed him. So why was a second chance? Nadia said, trying to keep the hurt out of her voice. No. Colin shifted to face her, careful not to wake Mateo. You were a wake-up call, but you're not her, Nadia. You're not a stand-in or a way to fix my guilt. You're just you. And somewhere between that first text and right now, this stopped being about Lily and started being about you, about Mateo, about wanting to be here in this moment, not because I'm trying to rewrite the past, but because this is the first place I've wanted to be in 3 years.
Nadia wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I don't know what to say to that. You don't have to say anything. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Nadia took a shaky breath. You want to know why I got pregnant? Colin nodded. I was stupid. Young, stupid, and so desperate to be loved that I ignored every red flag Derek threw up. He was charming when he wanted to be, said all the right things, made me feel special, like I mattered. She picked at a thread on the couch cushion. We'd been together 8 months when I found out. I was terrified, but also hopeful. Like maybe this would be the thing that made him stay, made him commit, made him love me the way I loved him. What happened? He looked at me like I'd ruined his life, told me to take care of it. When I said I wanted to keep the baby, he called me selfish, said I was trapping him, that he wanted nothing to do with either of us. Her voice hardened. My family agreed with him. My mom said I was throwing my life away. My dad said if I kept the baby, I wasn't welcome home. My sister called me an idiot, so I moved here, to this apartment, alone. Got a job waitressing, tried to make it work. What about school? I was 2 semesters from graduating, had to drop out when morning sickness got bad and I couldn't afford tuition, lost my scholarships, lost everything I'd worked for. She looked at Mateo, still peaceful in Colin's arms. But I got him, and he's worth it. Every struggle, every sleepless night, every humiliation. He's worth all of it. You're an incredible mom, Colin said quietly. I'm a broke mom who texted a stranger begging for formula money. You're a mom who would do anything for her kid. That's not weakness, that's strength. Nadia's composure cracked. I'm so tired, Colin. I'm so tired of being strong, of pretending I have it together, of acting like this is sustainable when I know it's not. So stop pretending. I can't afford to. With me, you can. She looked at him, really looked at him, at this man who'd driven 2 hours twice in 1 week just to sit in her falling-apart apartment, who held her baby like he was precious, who listened without judging, who showed up. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? Of this, of you, of wanting something good and having it taken away. Colin shifted Mateo carefully to one arm and reached for her hand with the other. His palm was warm, calloused from years of training. I'm scared too. Of what? Of screwing this up? Of being too late again? Of caring about something and losing it? Their fingers intertwined. So what do we do? Nadia asked. We try anyway. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? Mateo stirred, making...
The next 3 weeks felt like living in a dream Nadia was afraid to wake up from. Colin came to Spokane every chance he got, between games, during off days, sometimes just for a few hours before driving back. He'd text from the road, leaving Seattle, ETA 7:30, and she'd find herself checking the clock every 5 minutes, heart racing like a teenager waiting for prom. It was ridiculous. It was wonderful. It was absolutely terrifying. He brought groceries without being asked, played with Mateo for hours doing silly voices and peekaboo until the baby shrieked with laughter. He fixed the outlet that sparked, tightened the loose cabinet hinges, replaced the smoke detector battery she'd been ignoring for months. You don't have to do that, she'd say every time. I know, he'd reply, and keep doing it anyway. But the best moments weren't the grand gestures. They were the small ones. Like the Tuesday evening he showed up exhausted from a double practice session and fell asleep on her couch while Mateo napped on his chest, both of them snoring softly. Nadia had taken a photo, unable to help herself, her heart doing dangerous things in her chest. Or the Saturday morning he arrived with coffee, real coffee from an actual cafe, not her instant stuff, and they sat on her fire escape in the cold October air, wrapped in blankets, watching the sunrise while Mateo babbled happily between them. Or the night he'd asked to see more of her design work, and they'd spent 4 hours on her laptop looking through old files, Colin asking questions, making suggestions, genuinely interested in every detail. When she'd mentioned an idea for a freelance project, he'd said, "So do it. What's stopping you?" Clients, experience, confidence, a computer that doesn't freeze every 10 minutes. The next day, a brand new laptop was delivered to her door. They'd fought about it. She'd called him controlling and overstepping. He said it was a tool, not charity, and she couldn't build a business on a dying machine. She cried from frustration and gratitude and the overwhelming weight of being seen. In the end, she'd kept it and started taking on small freelance jobs, logos for local businesses, flyers for community centers, social media graphics for friends of friends. The money wasn't much, but it was hers, earned through her talent, not handed to her out of pity. Colin celebrated every single client like she'd won an award. 3 weeks and 2 days after their first meeting, Colin showed up at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. Unusual, since he was supposed to be at practice. Nadia opened the door, Mateo on her hip. "What are you doing here? Don't you have—" "Day off, coach's orders." Something about overtraining. He held up a bag. "I brought sandwiches and a surprise." "What kind of surprise?" "The kind you'll probably yell at me for." She narrowed her eyes. "Colin, just trust me, please." 20 minutes later, they were in his car, a sleek black SUV that probably cost more than her yearly rent, driving north out of Spokane. "Where are we going?" Nadia asked for the 5th time. "You'll see. This better not be some secret mansion you bought me, or I swear, it's not a mansion. I'm not that presumptuous. But it is something you bought. Technically, no. I'm just borrowing it." "Colin!" "Nadia." In the back seat, Mateo kicked his feet happily, entertained by the toys Colin had apparently stashed in the car specifically for him. They drove for 40 minutes, conversation flowing easily, about his upcoming game against LA, about her newest freelance client, about Mateo's obsession with grabbing noses. Normal things, easy things, the kind of comfortable that usually took years to build. Finally, Colin turned down a long driveway lined with pine trees. At the end was a cabin. Not huge, but beautiful. Wood and stone, large windows, a wraparound porch surrounded by forest. Smoke curled from the chimney. The lake sparkled beyond it, perfectly still. Nadia's breath caught. "What is this?" "A friend's place. He's in Europe for the month, said we could use it. I thought you could use a break from the apartment, the stress, everything. Just a day to breathe." Her throat tightened. "You didn't have to. I wanted to. Is that okay?" She looked at the cabin, at the lake, at the peace radiating from this place. When was the last time she'd gone somewhere just to be? Not to work, not to survive, but just to exist. "Yeah," she whispered. "It's okay." The cabin was warm and cozy inside. Overstuffed furniture, a stone fireplace crackling, skylights that let in the afternoon sun. Colin had clearly been here earlier, preparing. There were snacks laid out, juice boxes, a baby blanket spread on the floor with toys. "You planned this," Nadia said. "Maybe. How long have you been planning this?" "A week, maybe 2. "Why?" Colin set Mateo down on the blanket, making sure he was stable before answering. "Because you never rest. Every time I see you, you're working, taking care of Mateo, applying for jobs, doing freelance projects, cleaning, cooking. You never stop. And I thought, maybe you deserve the day where you didn't have to." I don't know what to say. "You don't have to say anything. Just be here. With us. That's enough." Us. That word again. The one that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. They spent the afternoon doing absolutely nothing productive. Colin played with Mateo on the floor, building block towers for the baby to knock down, making increasingly ridiculous sound effects that had Mateo squealing with laughter. Nadia curled up on the couch with her coffee, watching them, something warm and dangerous blooming in her chest. This is what it could be like.
this ease, this joy, this partnership, if she let herself have it. "He's getting so big," Colin said, tickling Mateo's belly. "Wasn't he smaller last week?" "They grow fast at this age. Does it make you sad that he won't remember being this small?" The question surprised her. "Sometimes. I try to memorize moments, the way his laugh sounds right now, how his hand looks wrapped around my finger. I know I'll forget the details eventually, but I'm trying to hold on." Colin looked at her. "You're a really good mom. I'm a tired mom. Those aren't mutually exclusive." "Your fair point." Mateo yawned, rubbing his eyes with tiny fists. "Someone needs a nap," Colin said. "He'll fight it for 20 minutes first. He always does. Want me to try?" "You want to put him down for a nap?" "Why not? Can't be harder than penalty kicks under pressure." Nadia laughed. "You have no idea what you're in for." But Colin scooped Mateo up, grabbed the bottle Nadia had prepared, and headed for the bedroom, humming softly. Nadia sat alone in the living room, listening to Colin's voice through the door. Low, soothing, singing something that might have been a lullaby or might have been a football chant. She couldn't quite tell. Mateo's fussing gradually quieted, then stopped. Silence. Colin emerged 10 minutes later, closing the door carefully behind him. "He's out," he whispered, looking proud of himself. "You're kidding." "Nope, total success. It took me 45 minutes yesterday. What can I say? I have a gift." He flopped on the couch beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. They sat in comfortable silence, the fire crackling, the cabin warm and peaceful. "Thank you," Nadia said quietly, "for this, for all of it." "You're welcome." "I mean it, Colin. This is the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me." "That's depressing." "It's reality." "Then reality sucks." "Sometimes, yeah." "You deserve nice things, Nadia. You deserve help and kindness and days where you don't have to worry about everything falling apart." "I'm working on believing that." "Good." They looked at each other, really looked, and suddenly the space between them felt charged, heavy with everything they'd been carefully not acknowledging. "Can I ask you something?" Colin said. "Always." "What do you want? Not for Mateo, not survival stuff. What do you want?" Nadia's breath caught. No one had asked her that in so long. She'd forgotten she was allowed to want things. "I want to finish school," she said slowly. "I want to build a career I'm proud of. I want Mateo to grow up knowing he's loved and safe and that his mom fought for him. I want—" She trailed off. "What?" Colin prompted gently. "I want to not be alone anymore." Her voice cracked on the last word. Colin reached for her hand, threaded their fingers together. "You're not alone. I've been alone so long I don't know how to not be. So we'll figure it out. Together." There was that word again. Together. "What do you want?"
The photo appeared on a Monday morning. Nadia was feeding Mateo breakfast, mashed bananas that he was wearing more than eating, when her phone started buzzing. Once, twice, 7 times in rapid succession. She ignored it, focused on getting at least some food into her son's mouth instead of his hair. Then it rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello? Is this Nadia Reyes?" A woman's voice, professional, clipped. "Yes. Who is this?" "My name is Jennifer Castle. I'm a reporter with Seattle Sports Network. I'm calling about your relationship with Colin Ashford." The spoon clattered from Nadia's hand. What? "There's a photo circulating online. You, Colin Ashford, and a baby at what appears to be a cabin in eastern Washington.
We're running a story and wanted to give you a chance to comment. Can you confirm that you're in a relationship with Mr. Ashford? Is the child his? Nadia's blood went cold. I have no comment. Please don't call this number again. She hung up, hands shaking. A photo online. She pulled up Instagram with trembling fingers, searched Colin's name. There it was, on a gossip account with 2 million followers. A photo of them at the cabin, through the window, Colin holding Mateo, Nadia standing close, the three of them looking every inch like a family. The caption read, "Exclusive, Colin Ashford's secret baby?" Sources say the millionaire footballer has been sneaking off to Spokane to visit this mystery woman and child. Wedding bells were just another athlete scandal. Full story link in bio. Hashtag Colin Ashford. Hashtag secret baby. Hashtag soccer scandal. The post had 47,000 likes, 1,200 comments. Nadia scrolled through them, each one worse than the last. Gold digger alert. She baby-trapped him 100%. How much you want to bet she got pregnant on purpose? Poor guy, another rich athlete getting scammed. She's not even pretty, LMO. What does he see in her? Probably lying about the kid being his for child support. Her phone rang again. Different number. Then again. Her inbox flooded with messages from strangers. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. People calling her a whore, a gold digger, a leech. People analyzing her appearance, her worth, her motives. People who didn't know her deciding who she was based on a single photo. Mateo started crying, picking up on her panic. "It's okay, baby," she whispered, but her voice shook. She tried calling Colin, straight to voicemail. She texted, "We have a problem. Call me." No response. Another call came through. She didn't recognize the number, but answered anyway. "Nadia Reyes? Stop calling me." "Ms. Reyes, I'm with TMZ Sports." She hung up and blocked the number. Then another call. And another. She was drowning in notifications, in accusations, in strangers who thought they had a right to her life. Finally, her phone rang with Colin's name. "Colin, I'm so sorry." His voice was tight, strained. "What's happening? There are reporters calling me. People are saying I know. My agent just called. The photos everywhere. How did they even—" "I don't know. Someone must have been watching the cabin or followed us. I should have been more careful. I should have—" "Is it true?" Nadia cut him off, voice sharp. "That your team is pissed? That your sponsors are concerned?" Silence. "Colin, is it true?" "My agent wants me to issue a statement. Deny the relationship. Say you're just a friend I was helping out." Nadia's stomach dropped. "What?" "I'm not denying you, Nadia. I'm not doing that." "But your career—" "I don't care." "You should care. This is your life. And you're part of my life now, too." Another call beeped through. Then another. Nadia's phone was exploding. "This is insane," she whispered. "Colin, I can't— I don't know how to do this." "We'll figure it out." "How? How do we figure this out when strangers are calling me a gold digger, when people are saying I baby-trapped you, when reporters are camped outside my building?" "They're there, right now?" She looked out the window. A van with a satellite dish was parked across the street. A man with a camera stood on the sidewalk, looking up at her building. "Yes. Oh, God. Yes, they're here." "Don't go outside. Don't talk to anyone. I'm coming." "No." The word came out harsh, final. "What?" "Don't come here. Don't make this worse." "Nadia!" "They're looking for a story, Colin. You showing up gives them exactly what they want." "I don't care what they want." "Well, I do. I care that my face is plastered all over the internet. I care that people are calling me names. I care that my son is being dragged into this mess because I was stupid enough to think— To think what? To think this could work. That people like you end up with people like me. That I deserved something good. Nadia, don't do this." "Do what?" "Push me away because you're scared." "I'm not scared. I'm realistic." "Look at what's happening, Colin.
This is your world, not mine, and I don't fit in it. That's bullshit. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks pretty fucking accurate. Mateo was full-on wailing now, face red, picking up on her stress, missing Colin. He kept looking at the door like he expected Colin to walk through any minute. It gutted her. Someone knocked. Nadia froze. "Nadia, it's me." Colin's voice muffled through the door. "Please, just open the door, let me explain." She stood in the middle of her half-packed apartment, torn between running to the door and pretending she wasn't home. "I know you're there. I can hear Mateo." Another knock, softer. "I'm not leaving until you talk to me." Nadia squeezed her eyes shut. This wasn't fair. None of this was fair. But she couldn't hide forever. She opened the door. Colin looked terrible. Unshaven, shadows under his eyes, wearing a wrinkled hoodie like he'd thrown it on without thinking. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Join the club." "You blocked me," he said. "I had to." "Why?" "Because every time I saw your name, it hurt. Because I needed space to think. Because—" She gestured helplessly at the chaos around her. "Because my life is falling apart, and you're part of the reason why." He flinched like she'd hit him. "I never meant for this to happen." "I know, but it did anyway." "Let me fix it." "You can't fix this, Colin. This is what your life looks like. This is what dating you means. And I can't—" Her voice cracked. "I can't do this." "Yes, you can." "No, I can't. Look around. I'm being evicted. Strangers know where I live. People are calling me a gold digger and saying I baby-trapped you. My son can't even leave the apartment without cameras in his face. This is insane. So, we'll move you, get you somewhere safe, hire security. And then what? I become your kept woman, hide away in some apartment you pay for while you play football, and I wait for the next scandal? That's not what I'm suggesting. Then what are you suggesting, Colin? Because from where I'm standing, there's no version of this that works. Your world and mine don't mix. They can't. That's not true. Yes, it is. She was crying now, couldn't stop. You're rich and famous and successful. I'm broke and nobody and struggling. People look at us and see a story, a joke, the millionaire and the charity case. You're not a charity case. Tell that to everyone online. I don't care what they think. Well, I do. I care that my son is being dragged through this. I care that I can't protect him from strangers and cameras and people who think they know us. I care that I brought this into his life because I was selfish enough to want something for myself. Colin stepped forward. Wanting something for yourself isn't selfish. It is when it hurts my son. He's not hurt. He's fine. He's not fine. He cries every time someone knocks because he thinks it's you. He keeps looking for you. And when this all falls apart, when you realize this is too complicated and walk away, he's going to be devastated. And that's on me. That's my fault for letting him get attached. I'm not walking away. Everyone walks away, Colin. That's what people do. I'm not everyone. How do I know that? Because I'm standing here. Because I've been trying to reach you for 3 days. Because I drove here even though you blocked me. Because I'm not giving up. You should. Why? Because I'm not worth this mess. The words ripped out of her, raw and bleeding. Colin stared at her. Do you really believe that? Yes. Then he was right. Who? Derek, your family, everyone who made you feel like you weren't enough. They convinced you, and now you're doing their job for them. Nadia recoiled. That's not fair. Neither is giving up on us because you're scared. I'm not scared. I'm practical. You're terrified, and I get it. This is scary. This is messy. But walking away doesn't make it less scary. It just makes you alone. I've been alone before. I can do it again. But you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because people like you don't stay with people like me. That's not how the world works. Colin's face crumpled. People like me? What do—
3 weeks.
3 weeks of silence. 3 weeks of Nadia going through the motions, feeding Mateo, changing diapers, working on design projects she couldn't focus on, staring at walls in her new apartment. True to his word, Colin had arranged everything. Movers showed up the day after their fight. A security deposit appeared in her account. The new apartment, nicer than her old one, safer neighborhood, actual working appliances had been secured through a property management company. No direct contact, no strings, just help from a ghost. She should have been grateful. Instead, she felt hollow. Mateo had stopped looking for the door, stopped expecting Colin to walk through. He'd cried for the first week, inconsolable, confused, grieving in the way babies do when someone disappears from their world. Now he was just quiet, less smiley, more clingy. Nadia had done that. Her fear had stolen his joy. The media storm had died down after Colin released a statement through his publicist. I value my privacy and ask that the media respect the privacy of all individuals involved. No further comment will be made on my personal life. Cold, professional, final. The speculation continued for a few days. Gossip sites, manufacturing drama, people taking sides. But without fuel, the fire eventually burned out. Someone else's scandal took center stage. Nadia became old news. Forgotten. Exactly what she'd wanted. Except it wasn't. Not really. She'd wanted safety, protection, control over her life. What she got was loneliness. On a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks and 2 days after pushing Colin away, Nadia's sister called. She almost didn't answer. Carmen hadn't spoken to her since the pregnancy announcement. But something made her pick up. Hello? It's me. Carmen's voice was cautious. I saw the articles about you and that footballer. It's over. It was nothing. Didn't look like nothing. Well, it was. Can I help you with something? A pause. I'm sorry. Nadia's breath caught. What? I'm sorry. For how we treated you. Mom, Dad, me. When you told us about Mateo, we were wrong. Tears burned Nadia's eyes. Why are you telling me this now? Because I saw that photo of you three, and I realized you looked happy. Really happy. For the first time since before Derek. And then I read all the comments, all the horrible things people were saying, and I thought about how we said horrible things too. How we made you feel like keeping your baby was the wrong choice. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Carmen, is he really gone, the footballer? Nadia's throat closed. Yeah, he's gone. Did he leave you? No, I pushed him away. Why? Because I was scared. Because everyone leaves eventually. Because I didn't believe someone like him could actually want someone like me. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Nadia laughed wetly. Thanks. I'm serious. Nadia, you've always done this. Pushed people away before they could hurt you, even when we were kids. Remember when you didn't go to prom because that guy asked you and you convinced yourself it was a joke? It probably was a joke. It wasn't. He was crushed when you said no. And then there was college. You dropped your roommate as a friend the second she started dating because you assumed she'd ditch you. You have this pattern of deciding people will leave, so you leave first. That's not... It is. And I get it. Dad left. Derek left. We abandoned you when you needed us. You've learned that people don't stay. But Nadia, what if this guy was different? What if he actually meant it? Nadia sank onto her couch. Mateo playing with blocks at her feet. It doesn't matter. It's over. Does he know you love him? I never said I love him. You didn't have to. I could see it in that stupid photo. You looked at him like he was your whole world. Nadia covered her face with her free hand. It's too late. Is it? Carmen, I blocked him, told him I couldn't do this, said terrible things. He's not coming back. Did you try reaching out? No. Why not? Because what would I even say? Sorry I freaked out and pushed you away. Want to try again? That's pathetic. That's honest. He doesn't want to hear from me. How do you know? Because he hasn't tried to contact me in 3 weeks. You literally told him not to. You said you needed space. Maybe he's giving you what you asked for. Nadia's heart pounded. Could that be true? Was Colin staying away because he thought that's what she wanted? I don't know how to fix this, she whispered. Start by being honest, with him and yourself. Do you love him? Did she? She thought about Colin holding Mateo, singing off-key lullabies. Colin fixing her broken outlet at midnight. Colin driving 2 hours just to bring her coffee. Colin looking at her like she was the most important person in the world. Colin saying, I love you, and her responding by pushing him away. Yeah, she breathed. I love him. Then tell him. What if it's too late? What if it's not? After they hung up, Nadia sat on her couch for a long time, staring at her phone. She'd unblocked Colin's number 2 weeks ago, had stared at his contact information 100 times, but fear kept stopping her. Fear of rejection, fear of being too late, fear of admitting she'd been wrong. But Carmen was right. Nadia had been running her whole life. From pain, from hope, from anything that could hurt her. And where had it gotten her? Alone in an empty apartment, with a sad baby and a hole in her chest where Colin used to be. She opened her messages, typed 4 words. Can we talk? She stared at them for 10 minutes before hitting send. Then she waited and waited. Hours passed, no response. Maybe he'd blocked her. Maybe he'd moved on. Maybe... Her phone buzzed. When? 1 word, but it was something. Anytime. I'm home. I have practice until 6. I can be there by 8:30. Nadia's heart leapt. Okay.
6 months later, Nadia sat at her new desk, the one Colin had surprised her with after she'd complained about working hunched over her laptop on the couch, putting the final touches on a logo design for a Seattle-based nonprofit. The commission had come through Colin's foundation, but she'd earned it on merit. They'd loved her portfolio, loved her vision. She was good at this, finally starting to believe it. Mateo babbled from his playpen, now 13 months old and getting into everything. He'd started walking last month, much to everyone's terror and delight. Currently, he was trying to eat a plastic block while watching her work. "That's not food, baby," she called, without looking up. He giggled and threw it instead. The apartment, their apartment now, though it was still technically in her name, was filled with afternoon light. Bigger than her old place, in a better neighborhood, but not ostentatiously fancy. Colin had let her choose it, had respected her need to not feel bought. Though he'd absolutely bought the furniture, she'd given up that battle. Her phone buzzed with a text. Colin, game ends at 4, home by 6. Want me to grab dinner? Nadia, please, I'm too deep in this design to cook. Colin, Thai? Nadia, you know me so well. Colin, I try. Love you. Nadia, love you too. She set the phone down, smiling. 6 months of this, of easy texts and shared dinners, and someone coming home to her. 6 months of learning to trust that good things could last. It hadn't been perfect. There'd been arguments about money. She'd insisted on paying rent. He argued it was ridiculous when he could easily cover it. They'd compromised on her paying what she could afford while building her business. There'd been moments where the media attention flared up again, a photo here, a gossip piece there, and she'd panicked, old fears rushing back. But Colin had held steady, hired security when needed, issued statements through his publicist, protected their privacy fiercely. And slowly, the world had lost interest. They became old news, just another couple. Normal. Beautifully perfectly normal. She'd finished her degree online. Colin had offered to pay for it outright. She'd refused. They'd compromised on him covering childcare so she could study. She graduated 2 months ago. Small ceremony. Just her and Colin and Mateo and Carmen, who'd driven up from Portland. Her family was slowly coming around. Slowly. Her mother had sent a birthday card for Mateo. Her father had called once. Awkward and stilted, but it was something. Baby steps. The door opened at 6:03. "I'm home," Colin called, and Mateo shrieked with excitement, toddling toward the door as fast as his chubby legs could carry him. Nadia saved her work and went to find them. Colin had scooped Mateo up, the toddler grabbing his face with both hands, babbling something that sounded like "Dada." Her heart squeezed every single time. Colin had cried the first time Mateo had called him that. Actual tears. He'd looked at Nadia, terrified, asking, "Is that okay? I didn't teach him that, I swear." She kissed him and said, "It's more than okay." Because Colin was Mateo's father in every way that mattered. He was there for every milestone, every doctor's appointment, every 3 a.m. nightmare. He'd legally adopted Mateo 3 months ago, a quiet courthouse ceremony followed by chocolate cake and champagne. Derek had signed away his rights without a fight, hadn't even asked to see his son one last time. His loss, our gain. "How is the game?" Nadia asked, kissing Colin hello. "Brutal. We won, but barely. I'm exhausted." He nuzzled Mateo's neck, making the toddler giggle. "How's my boy? You been good for Mama?" "She ate a block." "Solid nutritional choice." I stopped him before he could swallow it. "Also solid." They moved to the kitchen together, that easy choreography they developed, Colin unpacking food while Nadia got Mateo into his high chair, both of them moving around each other with practiced efficiency. "I finished the nonprofit logo," she said, spooning mashed avocado onto Mateo's tray. "I think they're going to love it." "Can I see?" She pulled it up on her laptop. Colin studied it, head tilted, then grinned. "That's incredible. Seriously, you captured exactly what they were asking for." "You think?" "I know. You're crazy talented, Nadia." She still wasn't used to hearing that. Wasn't used to someone believing in her work, in her potential, in her. But she was learning. They ate dinner together, Thai food and toddler chaos, Mateo flinging rice everywhere, both of them laughing when he got noodles in his hair. Normal. Beautifully, perfectly normal. After dinner, after cleaning up Mateo and the explosion zone around his high chair, after bath time and books and tucking the toddler into his crib, they collapsed on the couch together. Colin pulled her close, and she melted into him, head on his chest, his heartbeat steady under her ear. "I have something for you," he said. "No, Colin, we talked about this. No more surprises." "It's a small surprise." "That's what you said about the laptop and the car and the... This is different, promise." He shifted, pulling something from his pocket. A small velvet box. Nadia's breath stopped. "Colin, wait, before you panic, just listen." He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, a single diamond on a delicate band. "Colin, I know we've only been together 6 months. I know that's fast. I know you're going to say it's too soon and we should wait and be practical. Colin, but I've spent 3 years feeling dead. 3 years going through the motions. And then you texted me by mistake and everything changed. You and Mateo are my family. You're my home. And I don't want to wait to make it official. I don't want to be practical or cautious or any of those things we're supposed to be." He took her hand, thumb tracing her knuckles. "I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to help Mateo with homework and teach him to kick a ball and embarrass him at his wedding someday. I want to watch you build your business into something incredible. I want the mess and the chaos and the beautiful, ordinary life we're building. I want it all. Forever." Tears streamed down Nadia's face. "So Nadia Reyes," he slid off the couch,
kneeling in front of her, still holding her hand. "Will you marry me?" She looked at him, this man who'd answered when she needed help, who'd shown up again and again, who loved her son like his own, who'd been patient while she learned to trust, who'd stayed when she pushed him away, who'd chosen her every day. "Yes," she whispered. "Yeah? Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes!" Colin slid the ring onto her finger, and then he was kissing her, both of them laughing and crying and holding each other like they'd never let go. From the bedroom, Matteo stirred, making sleepy sounds. They pulled apart, both moving instinctively toward the nursery. Colin got there first, scooping up the drowsy toddler. "Hey, buddy, guess what? Mama said yes." Matteo blinked at them, not understanding but content to be held. Nadia wrapped her arms around both of them, this little family she'd built from desperation and hope and one wrong number. "I can't believe this is my life," she whispered. "Good can't believe or bad can't believe. The best can't believe."
The wedding was small. 3 months later, in a garden in Spokane, surrounded by pine trees and spring flowers, Carmen stood as her maid of honor. Colin's teammates filled the groom side. Nadia's parents came, awkward but trying. Matteo toddled down the aisle as ring bearer, got distracted by a butterfly, and had to be redirected 3 times. It was perfect. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Colin dipped her dramatically, making everyone laugh, and kissed her like she was the only person in the world. Because to him, she was. At the reception, casual, backyard style, nothing fancy, Nadia's sister pulled her aside. "You look happy," Carmen said. "I am. Really, really happy. I'm glad. You deserve this. Thank you for calling me 6 months ago, for telling me I was being an idiot." Carmen laughed. Someone had to. They hugged, and Nadia felt another piece of her broken family clicking back into place. Not perfect, not fixed completely, but healing. Colin found her later, Matteo asleep on his shoulder, both of them looking content. "Are you ready to go?" he asked. "Where?" "Honeymoon, remember? We have a babysitter lined up and a cabin waiting." "The same cabin?" "The same cabin. Seemed fitting." Nadia looked around at their wedding, at the people who'd shown up, at the life they'd built, at the future stretching ahead. "Yeah," she said. "I'm ready." 1 year later. Nadia's design business was thriving. She'd hired an assistant, had a waiting list of clients, had been featured in a Seattle design magazine. She worked from home most days, Matteo playing nearby, occasionally helping by scribbling on her sketches. Colin had transitioned to coaching after retiring from professional play, a decision he'd made after realizing he wanted more time with his family. He coached youth soccer now, worked with underprivileged kids through his foundation, came home for dinner every night. They'd bought a house, nothing massive but theirs, with a yard where Matteo could play and a room they were slowly converting into a nursery. Because Nadia was pregnant. 12 weeks along, just starting to show, terrified and elated in equal measure. Colin had cried when she'd told him, happy tears this time, had kissed her stomach and whispered promises to their unborn child about being there, showing up, never missing a moment. On a Tuesday afternoon, Nadia was working at her desk when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello? Is this Nadia Ashford?" A young woman's voice, nervous. "Yes? I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Rachel. I found your number through your business website. I hope that's okay? What can I help you with? I saw your story, the articles from last year, about you and your husband, about how you were a single mom and struggling, and he helped you." Nadia's chest tightened. "Okay. I'm in a similar situation. I'm 19, I have a 6-month-old, the father's gone, my family won't help.
I'm drowning. And I know this is crazy, but I thought maybe you'd understand. Maybe you'd know what to do." Nadia closed her eyes, saw herself 2 years ago, desperate, alone, typing a message to a wrong number because she had no other options. "Where are you?" "Spokane, near the community college." "Have you eaten today?" Not really. I've been saving my food for my daughter." "What's your address?" Rachel rattled it off, voice shaking. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. We'll figure this out together, okay?" "Really? You'd do that?" "Someone did it for me once. Now it's my turn." After they hung up, Nadia grabbed her purse and keys, called Colin. "Hey, I need to run an errand. Can you get Mateo from daycare?" "Sure. Everything okay?" "Yeah. Just, paying it forward." He could hear his smile through the phone. "I love you." "Love you too." She drove across town, thinking about wrong numbers and second chances, and how one desperate text had changed everything. How it had saved her. And now maybe she could help save someone else. Because that's what you did when you'd been drowning and someone pulled you to shore. You reached back and helped the next person, over and over, creating ripples of hope that spread farther than you'd ever know. The end. She pulled up to the address, a run-down apartment complex that looked painfully familiar. She grabbed the bag of groceries she'd stopped for and headed up the stairs. A young woman answered the door, thin, exhausted, baby on her hip, eyes red from crying. Nadia smiled. "Hi, Rachel. I'm Nadia. Let's talk." And as she stepped inside, ready to offer hope to someone who desperately needed it, she thought about that night 2 years ago when she'd sent a text to the wrong number. The best mistake she'd ever made. The wrong number that had been exactly right. Have you ever had a wrong number moment that turned into something beautiful? Or maybe you've been the person who showed up when someone needed help. Life has a funny way of connecting us when we least expect it. Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how unexpected connections have changed your life. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story today, send it to them. Sometimes we all need a reminder that hope can come from the most unexpected places.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you loved this story, you will definitely love the next one. It's more intriguing than you can ever imagine. So go ahead and watch it now. Click on the image on your screen right away to watch the next one. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It helps and encourages us to share the best human interest stories you'd love.